Hello and welcome back to our daily devos. My name is Pastor Cassie and I'm so glad that you have joined us today. If you haven't already watched this week's sermon, it was so good. I really encourage you to go watch it at bethel.org or on our YouTube page. Check that out because today I'm going to be talking about what Pastor Frank had mentioned, something that really stuck with me. He said, live and give in such a way that it points back to God. Now, the whole message was about giving and using what we have, whether that's money, time, resources, to give back to God for two reasons. One, to further the kingdom. We want to give so that we can see people come to know Jesus. But two, that our actual giving is something that reflects Jesus. It shows our love and devotion for God, and it can be a witness to people around us. And this really touched me because this is actually something that I saw in the church very early on, because I grew up very poor. And we really struggled financially at different seasons. It wasn't always like that, but there was definitely times where we felt the weight more than others. And it made me fear money, cling to money, desire money. And so I feel like the relationship that I grew up with having with money was dysfunctional. And then I look at the Bay Area and I see people just striving to get as much as possible to gain stability and status and happiness. And Pastor Frank was really urging us to just look at our money differently. He said one thing, which was that maybe it's from a study. Maybe money could make us happy if we spent it differently. And what I noticed when I came to the church was that there were people living in abundance, people that weren't fearful of money, but were very conscious and good with money. And then I took a look behind the curtain and realized it was because they were allowing God to use their finances and surrendering everything that they had to God to serve Him and love Him, and they never lacked anything. So many people that I was mentored by, I just could see so clearly that money wasn't a point of contention for them and their family because it was just the Lord's money. And I noticed as I grew up in the church after I got saved, giving to tithe and missions and going on missions trips and spending my time for the community, that really shaped the way that I used my money. And also I saw blessings from God. Now, that was a witness to my family. That was a witness to my parents because they saw me pay to go to college on my own. They saw me pay to go on mission trips on my own and pay things out of money that I really didn't have. But He provided for me every step of the way, and that showed them God's goodness. And there was a verse I wanted to share with you from 2 Corinthians, and it says this, 2 Corinthians 9:15, this service that you perform is not only supplying the needs of the Lord's people, but is also overflowing in many expressions of thanks to God. Not only does our giving, whether that's in time or money or resources, not only does our giving supply the people of God with what they need to survive and to experience His goodness, but it's also an expression of worship to the Lord. And that worship done sacrificially is very beautiful to the people that are watching, especially in the Bay Area. Anywhere in the world, really, money is just such a valuable thing to us. And when a non-believer watches you give sacrificially out of the little that you have or the abundance that you have, it means so much because everybody desires that kind of stability. And when you do that, it shows people that that stability only comes from God. And I think this is a beautiful message. And I want to encourage you guys this week to just practice that. See how you can take what you have and use it as worship to the Lord to show His goodness off to the world. That's what our resources are meant to do. We're not going to take any of this with us, so what we need to do is use it right now to the best of our ability to serve God. I hope that that is something that speaks to you, and I just want to pray for you really quickly before we go. Lord, I pray for the finances of everybody listening to this, God, because finances can be such a stressful topic to talk about, but Lord, You know where we're going to get our next meal. You know how we're going to pay rent next month. Lord, you know it all, and you're our provider. So we know that we are in the best of hands with you. Jesus, you are so faithful, and we just pray for that faithfulness to just fill our hearts with gratitude today. In your name, amen. Have a great week. We'll see you in our next Daily Devo.